What's good, YouTube? Welcome to Season 2, Episode 2 of this RB Leipzig career mode. Today we're going to be building on a very good first month in this summer transfer window. We already have done a ton of business in the first month. We brought in two quality defenders in Rafael Guerreiro and Sebastian Coates. They're going to be on the left side of our defense. The right side is already set with Elsay Hisaj and Willy Orban, but we needed to improve our left side. We were able to upgrade on Halstenberg with Guerreiro, and we were able to upgrade on Nicholas Stark with Sebastian Coates. So there's our first team. Very balanced side. I'm very happy with what I've got. My second team looks like this. Pretty good attack, pretty good defense. However, if you remember from last episode, we lost Jean-Kevin Augustin to Liverpool. They paid his release clause. I didn't know you could stop him from doing that, but I didn't know that. So now he is at Liverpool. We need to find a replacement for him. That's going to be the first priority in this episode. We need to find a replacement for Jean-Kevin Augustin. We've got a pretty good transfer budget now because we sold a couple players in addition to Jean-Kevin Augustin. We've got 27.3 million euros in transfer budget, 91,000 a week in wage budget. So definitely enough to not just replace, but maybe upgrade on Jean-Kevin Augustin in this transfer window. I would like to remind you guys that even though we have 27 million in transfer budget, we still could get even more if we sell a couple more players. Halstenberg, I think, is surplus to requirements because we already have Silva at left back who can play both left back and right back. So he could be our backup for Rafael Guerreiro. So if that was the case, we can sell Halstenberg. We can get some decent money for him. Everton already accepted an offer for 9.1 million euros. So if that deal goes through, that's an additional 7-8 million into our transfer budget. In addition to that, Peter Gulaxi, who's now our third-string goalkeeper. I accepted an offer from Torino about the same price as Werder Bremen. I'm hoping this deal goes through because last time it didn't. So that deal is still getting done. I really hope it does because similar to Halstenberg, if this deal goes through, that's another 7-8 million into our transfer budget. So him and Halstenberg could potentially add 16 to 15 million euros, which would take us over the 40 million mark and allow us to definitely upgrade on Jean-Kevin Augustin in this transfer window. Massimo Bruno would be the final player who potentially leaves the Stoke City. If he does leave, he'd be a little bit less. 4 to 5 million goes into our transfer budget, but that's still a decent amount of money for a 74 rated midfielder. So overall, while we do this business with Halstenberg, Gulaxi, and Massimo Bruno, I'm going to be patient. I'm going to see what happens here. And then once we get these three players sorted out, I'm going to go after a replacement. Speaking of replacements, let me remind you guys who I want to go after. Hirving Lozano, Kevin Volland, Breel Mbolo, Adalberto Peñaranda, my four, I think, favorite prospects right now to replace Jean-Kevin Augustin. I could also go after Carlos Soler from Valencia, the young Spanish talent. He almost went to PSG in this career mode, but he turned them down. He would be kind of expensive, though, so for an 80 overall player, I may have to negotiate. Jesus Corona would be a nice deal, 83 overall. I've been looking at him for a very, very long time. He's developed from an 80 to an 83 overall in just over a season, so a quality Mexican right midfielder. He would definitely help our attack. I could potentially start him with Felipe Anderson. And then finally, Yuri Medeiros, 17 million value. He would be another Sporting Lisbon player coming to Leipzig. We already have, what's his name? William Carvalho from Sporting Lisbon, as well as Sebastian Coates. So Yuri Medeiros would be the third Sporting Lisbon player to come to Leipzig if I was to get him. But in terms of right midfielders, Jesus Corona, #1 priority. Carlos Soler, #2 priority. But if I don't get either of those two, Breel Mbolo would be a perfect replacement. Or Kevin Volland and Hirving Lozano, definitely both good options for me. And just like that, we get two of our players sold within a matter of days. Marcel Halstenberg goes to Everton. The board allocates 7.5 million into our transfer budget. Peter Gulaxi goes, would you look at that? 7.5 million in our transfer budget. You add that up together, we get 15 million euros into our transfer budget. I'm not gonna transfer Willy Orban to Swansea, so I'm just gonna ignore that. But we do sell two pretty decent players to Everton and Peter Gulaxi, so I'm pretty happy about that. We didn't need those players, so I think they were expendable, and now we've got an even bigger transfer budget. 42 million euros with just under 100,000 a week. We can now go after a quality upgrade on Jean-Kevin Augustin. So, as I said earlier, Jesus Corona, my #1 priority here. We've already bought a couple players from Sporting Lisbon. Let's go and get some players from FC Porto now. He's got a 31.5 million euro value, so I'm going to delegate this to my assistant. His release cost is 47 million. I'm going to try and not pay more than 40 million. We'll see what happens. So I'm going to start the offer at 33 million. And then I'm not going to go any higher than, let's see here, 42.5. That's perfect. Nope, we don't have that much money. 42 million flat. That's about everything we have. That's as high as I'm going to go for Jesus Corona. I can't afford to go any higher. If the Jesus Corona deal doesn't go through, the next player I'm going to go after is probably going to be like a striker or a winger. Hirving Lozano, I'm curious to see if PSV will... Nope, they're not going to let him go. Never mind. Hirving Lozano, he's off limits. What about Kevin Volland? This will be a very interesting signing because we could change to a 4-4-2 formation with Timo Werner and Volland up top if we were to snag him from Bayer Leverkusen. So I'm going to delegate this to my assistant. Let me look at his value. Ah, crap, I lost him. Where'd he go? So Kevin Volland, his offer is between 29 and 42 million euros. His release clause is only 33.7 million. Oh boy. Okay, if I'm going to delegate this to my assistant, I'm not going to go any higher than 34 million. So I'm going to start the offer at 29.5. I'm not going to go any higher than 33.3. Stoke City have finalized a deal for Massimo Bruno. We were going to get him there for 7.7 million euros for 74 overall player. That's great business by my assistant manager, who's been brilliant so far in selling these players of mine to other big teams for pretty big money. Uh-oh, this is bad news. Bernardo, who I was planning on having as my backup left back this season, his release clause is only 9.5 million euros. I should be more aware of these release clauses. And Eintracht Frankfurt have paid it, and they're now directly negotiating with his agent. I don't want to make the same mistake I made with Jean-Kevin Augustin, so I'm going to go to the squad hub here, and I'm going to try and hopefully increase his release clause and renew his contract right now. Bernardo now wants a release clause of 21.8 million euros. Honestly, that's actually okay with me because for a 75 rated right back, I'm okay with the release clause that high, but I'm going to try to deny the release clause. Let's see what happens. We can move forward without setting a release clause, but keep in mind we'll adjust our wage demand accordingly. Okay, I'm okay with that. That's fine with me. I don't want to lose Bernardo and have to get another left back in this summer transfer window. So that means we're going to have to pay him a little bit more on current wage. So he's currently under 40,000 a week. I'm gonna bump him up to 45,000 a week. I'm going to give him a nice signing bonus of 400,000 a week. That's a fair offer. My client is happy with that. Deal done. We keep Bernardo at the club. Whew. So there you have it. He was approached by Eintracht Frankfurt. Luckily, I spotted it just in time. We're going to be able to keep Bernardo at Leipzig this season. Alright, we've got two new news updates in our email. Yusuf Poulsen has interest from Wolfsburg. I'm not going to sell him for 25.8 million. I need a backup to Timo Werner, and Yusuf Poulsen is that player. However, in more bad news, Jesus Corona, his negotiations were broken down. FC Porto have been very, very stubborn about getting Jesus Corona to Leipzig. I'm not sure why. I know he's a good player, but I haven't had a team that was this stubborn with a player. I mean, William Carvalho, we had a little bit of trouble with Sporting Lisbon to bring him in, but I mean, for some reason, FC Porto really, really value him highly. I mean, we offered 40 million euros for him. That's a pretty damn good amount of money, but FC Porto, we're going to have to wait a week before we can go after him again. In the meantime, we still have ongoing negotiations with Kevin Volland. His release clause is 33.7 million. We're getting pretty close to that, so honestly, I'm just thinking about retracting my offer and paying that release clause, but I'll give my assistant manager another day or two and I'll see what happens. More bad news as Kevin Volland's negotiation also breaks down. Leverkusen have reached an impasse. Both Leverkusen and FC Porto have been very difficult to deal with in this transfer window. Again, I'm not sure why. Kevin Volland, I get that he's good. I get that he's important to that Leverkusen team, but we were so close to his release clause, and yet they still wouldn't let us take him. So I'm going to wait a week. I may just end up paying that release clause because for an 82 rated striker, I think it's a little bit overpriced, but I can afford it. I would say the same for Jesus Corona, but his release clause is just above what we have right now. So 47.7 million euros, just too much for me. Kevin Volland right now looks like the more likely option. We finally get the deal with Massimo Bruno done with Stoke City, so that's another 6.5 million euros into our transfer budget. Let's take a look at it now. 48.38 million euros. Wow. With this money, we can now afford Jesus Corona along with Kevin Volland, so I've got a decision to make here. Do I go after the more expensive winger, or do I go with the striker and change my formation to a 4-4-2? If I was to change my formation to a 4-4-2, I would have Timo Werner and probably Kevin Volland up top. I would have Felipe Anderson and Bruma out wide, and then I'll have to take Carvalho and then one of Forsberg or Kevin Campbell and put it in the midfield. So I'll have to sacrifice either Forsberg or Kevin Campbell if I did that formation, and then I have to push them into the second team, which wouldn't be too bad because we already have pretty good depth there. So honestly, I wouldn't mind getting either of those players because we can shift to a 4-2-3-1 if we bring in Jesus Corona, or a 4-4-2 if we bring in Kevin Volland. Pretty versatile in my opinion. We've got one more week left in this transfer window. We've got a lot of money in the bank right now. It's been a week since I was going after Kevin Volland and Jesus Corona. It's time for me to make a decision. We have to figure out who I want now. They already have a deal done with Stoke City. Stoke City are very close to signing Kevin Volland, so I'm going to have to move very quickly now if I want to get him. My other option, let's take a look at what's happening with Jesus Corona. No one has gone after him, probably because he's so damn expensive. Oh, I'm going to have to make a decision here. Do I go after Jesus Corona and blow a ton of money on his release clause, or do I go after Kevin Volland? You know what? I have to be financially careful here. I'm going to pay his release clause. I'm going to... How do I do that? So for Kevin Volland, you know what? He's the better deal compared to Jesus Corona. He's 14 million euros less. I'm going to go ahead, approach Dubai, and I'm going to pay his release clause. Now let's see if we can get to him before Stoke City can. I'm on a race for time right now. Normally I would delegate this, but since Stoke City are competing with us for Kevin Volland, I'm going to go directly and negotiate. Okay, so with Kevin Volland, important squad team role, 4-year contract, no release clause. Now we have to increase his wage. I'm going to bump him up to 80,000 a week, and then I'm going to give him a pretty hefty signing bonus of about 700,000 a week. Kevin Volland wants less wage, bigger signing bonus, and of course a goals bonus. So I never do any of those bonuses. You guys know the drill. I'm removing that bonus. I'm going to edit the wage. I'm going to bump him back up to 85,000 a week. I'm going to lower the signing bonus to 650,000 a week. It's not quite what he was hoping for, but we get the deal done. Second time does the job. We get Kevin Volland away from Bayer Leverkusen, a Bundesliga rival. Sells Kevin Volland to us. To be fair, we paid the release clause and stole him from them, but that's a huge signing for us. Because not only does that make us better, we also just weakened Bayer Leverkusen, who was a top 4 contender last season. Alright, here we are. We've got Timo Werner and Kevin Volland paired up top. Both are very good players. Kevin Volland, left-footed, he can play striker, right wing, left wing. High work rate, both offensively and defensively. Look at those skills. 85 long shot, 86 shot power, 81 curve. He's going to be lethal alongside Timo Werner. Look at his sprint speed, 77, 89 stamina, 82 strength. Perfect. He complements Timo Werner very well. Timo Werner is the pacier of the two, but he can also finish. He's also right-footed. So we've got a right-footed striker. We've got a left-footed striker together. That's perfect for us. And of course, we've got Felipe Anderson and Bruma, who's going to be supplying the balls into both of them. So our offense just got a whole lot better. And of course, Bayer Leverkusen's got a whole lot weaker. That being said, Forsberg and Carvalho will be in the midfield now. I had to drop Kevin Campbell into the bench, which means I'm going to have to change my second team now. So for my second team, I can replace Ilsanker. Now, I'm not a huge fan of Ilsanker, so I'm kind of glad I'm able to do this. Going to bring Kevin Campbell in, probably our best player besides Guerrero on that second team. I should also put Bernardo into that second team. But yeah, there we go. Bernardo, Stark, Upamecano, and Klosterman. Our midfield is Campbell, Diego Demme, Zlatko Junuzovic. Timo Werner should not be up there. I should put my backup. And where'd he go? Actually, now that I think about it, Kevin Volland was supposed to be Jean-Kevin Augustin's replacement. Jean-Kevin Augustin was playing in this position. I'm going to have to find someone else to put there. Who else do I put there? I guess Ilsanker is going to stay in, and I'm going to put Kevin Campbell up top, but that's not really going to work out right now. I think I'm going to need another attacking player. So after getting that deal done for Kevin Volland, we now have 12 million in transfer budget, a little under 50,000 a week in wage budget. Actually, we have 52,000 a week in wage budget. That should be enough for us to get another quality player. I may entertain the option of potentially loaning a couple players at this point because I want to be careful with my finances here. So, Breel Mbolo, not going to be able to afford him. His release clause is a little bit too much. However, Adalberto Peñaranda, his deal would be between 12 and 15,000 a week. I'm actually going to try and loan him in because the Watford player, if we were to buy him, we would have to spend everything we have right now, which I don't want to do. So I'm going to delegate to loan. I'm going to let my assistant do this, but unfortunately, Watford are not interested in loaning him out, so we're going to have to try and buy him. I just realized another option for my second team would be to go to just another 4-4-2 formation, except since I don't really have any wingers on this team, I may have to go with a more narrow formation. So let's take a look at what narrow formations we can try here. 4-1-2-1-2 narrow. I've never played with this formation in FIFA career mode, ever. Sabater and Poulsen can both play striker, so that's going to work out well. We've got Kevin Campbell at center attacking mid. That works. Ilsanker. Oh, that's perfect. Well, shit. I solved my own problem without even buying anyone. Diego Demme is going to be our center defensive mid for the second team. Junuzovic He can play center midfield. He can play center attacking mid as well. Ilsanker, he can play defensively. That's perfect. Wow. That was an easy problem to solve, although I do still have money in the transfer window, so I might as well spend it. You know what? I said earlier in this summer transfer window that I would try to loan in Tuanzebe instead of buying him, but now that I've solved my problem, I kind of want a better player than, what's his name? Stefan Ilsanker to play in the holding midfield for us. Tuanzebe can play center defensive mid, center back, right back. He's still very raw, but if you guys watched me last season with Tuanzebe, he was really freaking good. He can even go offensively and score some goals for us. So you know what? I'm going to approach to buy him from Manchester United. I take that back. I'm going to delegate him. I want to get him for a good price. So we're going to have to offer between 7 and 10 million for him. I'm actually okay with that. I'm going to offer 7 million flat. I'm not going to go any higher than 9.4 million. We have come to an agreement with Manchester United. 8.2 million euros is going to be the price for Axel Tuanzebe. I'm perfectly okay with that. I think it's a pretty good deal. He played really good for us. I'm familiar with how he plays, so I'm going to accept that offer. I'm going to delegate to my assistant to get his wages sorted out. He's on 64,000 a week, which is kind of high for us, so I'm going to start the wage at 60,000 a week. I'm sure he won't mind a downgrade. I'm not going to go any higher than 80,000 a week. While the Tuanzebe deal is getting done, I figured I might as well go after finishing my long-term objectives with my youth development. Within 2 seasons, I have to grow 3 youth academy players by at least 10 overall points, which means right now I already brought all my youth academy players into the first team, so I'm going to have to pay a scout to find 3 youth academy players that I can grow at least 10 overall points, and then I'll have to play them in 20 matches once I do that. I do have the whole season to do that, so we'll have like 40 to 50 matches to do that, which should be plenty of time for us to achieve this. I am going to hire Pietrowski. He is the best. Actually, no, I'm going to go with Schultz. Yeah, I'm going to go with Schultz because he's German. I can go ahead and set him into Germany because he did pretty well the last time I sent him into Germany. I'm going to give him 6 months to find, let's see, who should I find? I'm going to find a playmaker. I'm going to find a playmaker, and I'm going to try to improve and put them in the team. That still leaves us with just enough money to get Tuanzebe, so pretty good job on my part of balancing our budget, getting our youth priorities done, and of course getting Tuanzebe from Manchester United. There you have it. Deal done for Axel Tuanzebe, 69,000 a week, 4-year contract, sporadic first-team player. Well done to my assistant yet again. Tuanzebe is going to be our 4th signing in this transfer window. He's going to be our cheapest one, but he could be a very important one to give us some depth in that midfield and defense. So there you have it. Tuanzebe, Kevin Volland, Sebastian Coates, and Rafael Guerrero. 4 really good transfers. All can potentially play for our first team. Tuanzebe, probably a second-team player. Guerrero, Coates, and Volland, all first-team players. So we did pretty good business in this transfer window. I'm very happy with it. And yeah, we do lose out on a couple prospects, but Tuanzebe, we know how good he is, so I'm happy that I got him. So for transfer deadline day, we already have 170,000 euros spent. A bunch of teams like Bayern Munich, wheeling and dealing. They lost Thomas Muller. They brought in Gelson Martins. I'm going to be showing you guys all the transfers that happened at the end of this. We get a transfer offer for Konrad Laimer from FC St. Pauli. 5.8 million euros for a 4.5 million valued player. I'm done. Accept offer. Stefan Ilsanker, on the other hand, I am not going to let him go because even though we have Tuanzebe, in case injuries happen, I am going to keep him. So there you have it. Over 450 million euros spent on transfer deadline day. A whole lot of deals done. Unfortunately, I couldn't get all my loan moves done, but a ton of money was spent in this summer transfer window. Let me show you guys everything that happened. The biggest deal on transfer deadline day was Bayern Munich selling Thomas Muller to AC Milan for 65 million euros. To replace him, they bought Gelson Martins for 59 million euros. That's a pretty good replacement for Thomas Muller. Umtiti goes to Manchester City. Nainggolan goes to Manchester City. Both go for around 58, 57 million euros. Van Dijk leaves Southampton to FC Barcelona, 55 million euros. That's a pretty expensive transfer, but Van Dijk is definitely worth that much. Koke goes to Milan. Firmino goes to PSG. Milan definitely upgraded. Koke and Thomas Muller on that team. Where is Milan getting all this money? Brahimi goes to Chelsea for 40 million, which I think is, again, a ton of money to spend on a 28-year-old winger, but it's Chelsea's money. I don't really care. Alex Telles goes to PSG. I'm not really surprised because if any team was going to get Alex Telles, they would have to overpay for him, so PSG have the money to do that. Francesco Cervi goes to Juventus. Handanovic goes to Real Madrid. Joao Cancelo goes to Chelsea. That's a really good right back for them. Versalco also goes to Chelsea. Why did they buy 2 right backs? They bought Joao Cancelo and Sime Versalco for 34 million each. Why didn't they just go after a player? I don't know. Chelsea. I don't know how to explain that, but here we are. Kevin Volland. We buy him for 33.7 million. He was actually our most expensive transfer in this window. I'm very surprised by that. Sanabria goes to Roma. Douglas Costa to Schalke. Kasper Dolberg goes to Watford. How about that? You would think he would go to like Barcelona or some of the bigger teams in Europe, but Watford managed to nick him off of Ajax. Fair play to them. Lucas Dean goes to Manchester City. Rafinha goes to Inter. I've heard a lot of good things about Rafinha in career mode, so maybe in a road to glory I go after him. Franco Vasquez goes to Liverpool. Arjen Robben. Yo, what is it with Bayern Munich players going to Milan? Thomas Muller and Robben go, along with Koke. So AC Milan, if we face them in Champions Cup, they could be a very formidable opponent. Jordan Henderson to Leverkusen, Vieta to Stoke, Sebastian Coates, and Rafael Guerrero to Leipzig. 2 of the pretty good deals that I got done. And then here are a couple of other lower key transfers that happened. Not too big, but, you know, they're definitely notable. Sidibe to Villarreal, Koziello to Watford. I remember Koziello went to Watford in MGH's career mode, so fair play to him. But yeah, pretty good deals. Pretty good transfer window. A lot of moves were made. A lot of teams definitely changed, but I think at RB Leipzig, I'm very happy with the team we have. Our first team is going to be with a 4-4-2 flat. A lot of great quality. Werner, Felipe Anderson, Bruma. You guys know the drill. And then our backup team, our second team, is pretty damn good as well. Poulsen and Sabitzer and Campbell are a very formidable front 3. And then having Nicholas Stark and Upamecano in defense is also pretty good. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and replace Ilsanker with Tuanzebe, because if you take a look at their stats, Tuanzebe can actually play as a center defensive midfield player, and he can go forward offensively. If you take a look at his shooting, 75 heading, 75 marking, 73 passing. He has 29 finishing, but he scored a goal for us last season. So yeah, center back, center defensive mid, right back. I'm happy with this. So that will do it. We're done with the transfer window. Time for the Bundesliga season. There's already been 1 game played. I believe after that 1 game, they already announced a player of the month. But yeah, I'm ready for the season. We're going to be going after all 3 trophies, the Deutsche Pokal, Champions Cup, and the Bundesliga title. So stay tuned for that. The first games of the season coming your way. I hope to see you all next time. Peace.